access to that. I don't think. You know. But it was filled with revelation, and Sister Evangelist Price said the thing about it is the woman said it was different floors, but the floors was so, you think about a building, 100 and something story building, where this was never ending. And as far as she could see, there were just floors going up. And it was basically never ending. And so it is true, because when the angels fly around God, they're saying holy because they're seeing a different side of God each time they go around. So it will be an eternity, and you still won't see all of who he is. We'll still be learning. We are learning now. We will know as he know, but we'll still be learning. It's like now we're still learning about God. And thank God that he has given us an ear to hear. Many does not have an ear to hear. The Bible said, many are called, or the called, but few are chosen. So there are many that are called, but few are chosen. The thing about it is, if you don't have an ear to hear when you're being called, it will bypass you. Not only that, if you don't have a name and someone calls you by name, but you don't have a name, then it'll bypass you, because you won't know who they're talking about, because you were never named. Not just that, if we were not called the believers, then what would we be? Think about it. So everything has to be called something. It's like in the beginning, and God said, let there be light. And God called the light this, and God called the darkness, and he separated the two. So everything has to be given a name, or it has to be given an identity. So this is what he does. And so when he created Adam and Eve, he gave them their identity as to who they were. Now he called them, and he named them, he called them, he named them, he gave them their identity to who you are. And it's the same thing with you and I. When a person gives you a name, that individual gives you an identity, really. And a lot of times people live up to the name, not even knowing the meaning of the name, but we live up to the name. The thing about it is easy to live up to the name a sinner. But if you're unsaved, that's what you're called, a sinner. And it is easy to live up to that name, because that's what I am, a sinner. Now, if you walk into a room and you say, all you sinners, all the people who are unsaved can identify. It may not be 100% of them, but majority of them are going to understand what you're talking about, because they know that that's what I am, and that's my identity. As far as I'm not saved, so I'm a sinner. They know this. The Bible tells us to call those things that be not as though they were. So it is our job to call those things that are called that something different. All right? Now the thing about the call is, when we did it the other Sunday with the young lady, with the kids, when you call an individual long enough, if the person has an ear to hear you, the individual will eventually answer, will respond, will probably come to you, or will give you some type of indication, I hear you, you know. But the thing about it is, when you call something, a lot of times you have to know why you're calling it, because the very thing that you call will come. All right? Most of the time in our day, with us, you call a child. The child may come with, what do you want? Or I'm here, And most of the time when you call a person, You call a person because you either want something, or you want to share something, or you want to give an assignment. Okay? Most of the time. Or it could be, warning, um, to find out how the individual did, whatever. Call. To cry for help, hence to pray. Thus men are said to call upon the name of the Lord. Call. God calls with respect to men when he designates them to some special office. He called you to the office of. He called you an evangelist. One of the things that God gave me with the calling, he said, what people don't realize is there are times when I will have you to call someone else. Like, let's say, for instance, you are in a situation, and the Bible said, any two or three come together, touching and agreeing. Sometimes you're in a situation, and there are times when God will have you to call someone else for help so that you can get done what needs to be done. Because you can't do it on your own. So a lot of times you will call for someone else. Sometimes the person you call for is not enough. So you have to call for someone else. The Bible said this concerning Jesus. He called 12. And that still wasn't enough. He called 12. Think about it. He called 12. The Bible said he called 12. He said, I chose 12 of you. I called 12 of you. I chose 12 of you. And one is the devil. One has that spirit in him. But I called you. Because really an apostle, all it is a called out one, sent one. So he called them. And you and I, when we call a person for help, like let's say for instance 2 or 3, you call an individual to help you get done what needs to be done. In other words, it is too much for you, so you call for help. But God gives you people for that purpose. Moses was a prime example. Okay, Moses, listen. Here's what's going on. You got too many people and it's too much for you. You need to assign people and put them over these groups of people because it is too much for you. So Moses called people and put them in position that they would answer to him and the people would answer to those guys. All right? Setting up things. The call goes so deep. It is so many things that when you call on his name, is he hard of hearing? Because for an individual to make a statement, and say, listen, if you have an ear to hear what the Spirit is saying, and you are a spirit, but I struggle, or you struggle with hearing me, then you're contradicting yourself. So it isn't that he don't hear you, and it isn't that he don't respond. The question is, are you hearing him? Okay? Because sometimes we ask for things that we're not in position for, and sometimes the answer to the thing that we ask for don't come in. But it isn't, or it's not that he doesn't answer. He answered. In the message of the gospel, his call is addressed to men. Listen to this. To hold or restrain. In a general sense, to drive, to strain, or force out sound. When you call something, you can call something out of a person. Just like you can call a person to a thing, you can call a thing out of a person. Okay? Everybody doesn't have that type of power. Now, when I notice what I said, everybody. I didn't say anything about the believers. I said everybody doesn't have that type of power. Okay? You can call things out of a person by just calling. The same way you can call a person to come to you, you can call a thing that's in a person out of the person. And you can call that thing to come to you. That's the power that you as a believer carry. That you can call a person, and if you're listening, if you're watching, if you're paying attention, sometime the person will give you to respond. Okay? What are you talking about to respond? When you call a person, let's say you call an individual and you recognize that there is something in the individual. If you call and does not give the identity of the thing you're calling, the thing that you are calling may respond and the person might not respond. Because you didn't give no type of identity. You didn't identify who you was calling. You were just calling. Do you understand what I'm saying? You just said, come here. And thinking that the person was going to respond, but what was in the person respond? All right? It's like times when we call on the Lord. You call on the Lord and he shows up. Well, I ain't seen him. I mean, he's spirit. Evangelist Price said it best. And then I think that a lot of time, our gesture, the things that we do, the way we act, that is a calling. Pastor, what are you talking about? Listen to me. So Evangelist Price said it best the other night, and I was listening to her. She probably didn't think I was listening, but I was listening to her. She said this. She knew I was listening. But she said this. She said, the woman of God said that the Lord told her, showed her, there was a club someplace, whatever kind of club it was, and the people were dancing. Black smoke started coming up from the floor. Nobody's saying anything. The people just dancing, a gesture. And they're dancing, but the music that you're playing and you're dancing, you're summoning up spirits. So now your gesture is calling things. Okay? The same thing it is with the Spirit of God. When we come in here, our gesture, our posture, our worship, our praise, we begin to sing songs, we begin to minister, whatever, and the Spirit of God shows up. And you never mention his name. So we have so much power that we call things that are unseen to the forefront. Even unsaved, we walking in this stuff and didn't know it. Remember, where 2 or 3 come together, touching and agreeing. Most of the time, I'm not saying people don't dance by themselves, but most of the time when you're in a club setting, it's a group of people. And here we are, touching and agreeing. Satan shows up in the midst. Because you're summoning him up. You're calling him. What you're doing is worshiping him. So your worship calls him up. I know I'm telling you the truth because I feel the presence of the Lord. I know. This is true. To name, to dominate or give a name, or to name, let's say to name or to give a name. And God called the light day and the darkness he called night. And when God called the light day, the light took that name, and that was you. And the darkness he called it night, and that's you. And that's what they did, and they respected that until this day. You see what I'm saying? So when we say certain things and we do certain things, we are operating in an eternal state, but not realizing we are. We think that we are just mere people, but we have the ability to operate in an eternal state. And the words that come out of our mouth, foolishness or whatever, they are words that will carry on for eternity. Because you can say a word and damn a person to hell. That's eternity. You can say a word and that word sends a person to heaven. That's eternity. All right? So our actions is he called us to an eternal state. God placed in us the ability to be eternal. Somewhere. You carry that in you. Somewhere. Heaven or hell. You have the ability in you to be eternal. Though this body may be buried in a coffin or in a grave, but I'm still alive. Somewhere. And I said the word alive, but you're still not actually dead. As to what they call dead. To convoke, to summon, to direct or order to meet, to assembly by order or public notice, often with together, as the king called his council together. The president calls together the Congress. We have the right to call on the name of Jesus. And when the Spirit shows up, he doesn't show up alone. Because when you call on that name, you call an assembly. It depends on the call. Because God knows your heart. So it depends on I don't know how you would say it. Like if you calling from a call of distress, where you're in trouble. It will depend on who shows up and how many shows up. But something heavenly is going to show up. All right? It's very important to call a thing blessed. Then the enemy will put you in a situation where it is easy to call a thing cursed because that's what we are accustomed to calling. You want to be just like your daddy. Well, what was the daddy like? Well, one day the daddy got saved. Well, that's the way he want to be. It's like that. But that is not what we're referring to. You know what we're referring to. You're going to be just, and so now you didn't call the person name, but you gave the person an identity by what you just said. So you called an identity on the person. You're going to be the head, not the tail. You're going to be above. And it's easy to say that about ourselves, but it is kind of hard to say that when you're angry with somebody. I think if we change our confession, I think we'll be all right. My thing is to just say, if you ain't got nothing biblical to say, you're going to be all right. You're going to be all right. You're going to make it. That's simple. You're going to be all right. Or I'm praying for you. Or you just don't understand right now. See? So we call the person, we call, just like God called the light day, and God called certain things this, and God called certain things that, and God give grass a name, and God give the waters a name, all these different things. God, listen, he put in the garden 4 different rivers, and he gave them a name. He gave them a name. God gave you 4 different children, and you gave them a name. And the enemy is now trying to rebrand your child. Rebrand your child. When you have already branded your child, I'm saved, you will be saved. It may not be today, but you will be saved. And so now the enemy is trying to rebrand, call your child something else. And if we don't look beyond the action of the child, we will agree with the lie that the enemy gave, or that he stated. If we are not careful, well, man, I'm looking at this thing, and this child gonna be, I'm telling you, man, no, you're going against. The Bible says, call those things that be not. Right now, it don't look like it. Right now, it don't feel like it. But that, what you called it is what it's going to be. But right now, it don't look like what you called it. We are people who walk by faith and not by sight. That means these sights, they base everything on looks. So it don't look like what I'm calling it. That means I'm walking by what I see with these natural eyes, because it don't look like, and these natural eyes will cause me to become emotional. And then I will start saying, well, it don't look like, it don't, the way the person is acting, blah, 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 whatever. No, that ain't what God said. You didn't look like, and you didn't act like, but God didn't change what he called you. Notice this now, you didn't look like, you didn't act like, and our job is to be like Christ. You didn't look like, you didn't act like, but he never changed what he called you. He never changed what he called you. Listen, he never changed that I called you a woman. He never changed that. It might look like the person is not, but if he never changed it, you don't change it. He never said, you know, this person is cursed. He never said it, the person must be blessed. See, there are times when God won't say anything, he trusts you to call it. See, whatever you call it. Well, let me help you. I will own this type of car. Pastor, how you going to get that type of car? He said, whatever I call it. He said, whatever I call it. I will live in this type of house. Well, Pastor, how you going to get that type of house? He said, whatever I call it. The Bible said he brought to Adam the animals. And Adam named the animals. So whatever Adam named the animals was what they were. He brought to Adam the animals. Whatever, you brought to me waters. Water in bottles. I named them healing water. I don't know what you named them. See, you brought water. With the natural eyes, that's what I see, water. But I named them something else. I know it's water, but I named it something else. That water there will be your balm. And see what I'm saying? So now is whatever you call it. Whatever you call it. Whatever you call it. Listen, whatever you call it, I promise it will respond to what you call it. Remember when Elijah was, here it is, these guys, they in a battle, competition. Elijah just decided, okay, well, I'm going to give you a chance to call on your God. And let's see if your God come and consume this fire. And I want you to pour water on the wood and then call on your God. Here it is, you're calling on something that is literally dead, that cannot help you. It's a statue. There is no need, unless it's supernatural, for me to call this hat and expect this hat to come to me. Now I can call you and tell you to bring. Go and please, could you please go get that hat and bring it to me? Then the hat will come. Our God is totally different. I call him, he comes. I call him, he comes. I call him, he comes. So in other words, if it is spiritual, let's say I need something in the earth realm. She read the scripture. I need something in the earth realm. She said, whatever you ask. I need something in the earth realm. I'm calling on the name of Jesus, and I'm telling him in the name of Jesus what I need. The assignment of those who are assigned to me, it is their responsibility to go and get what I need and bring it to me. Jesus is our prime example. He prayed to the Father. He gave thanks. The manifestation of whatever he needs because of his love for the Father and his obedience to the Father. So therefore, whatever he stood in need of, it was carried out, and they made sure all his needs were met. Whatever he called for, they made sure his needs were met. He has to be an example. They made sure whatever he called for, the needs were met. I need all these people healed. The needs were met. I need all these people. The needs were met. I need all these people fed. The needs were met. The assignment was carried out. She said it best. Because he loved the Father. He has so much love for his Father that he said, we are one. I only do what I see him do. How you mean you only do what you see him do? You here, when did you see him do anything? This is the key. He is the Word. In John 1:14, the Bible said, and the Word became flesh. The Word manifests in the form of a man. The Word carried out the will of the Father. So now, for me to see what the Father is doing, I must see it through the Word. When I see it through the Word, it is easy to be carried out. Because I know the Word is the will of God. And so when I call something, I call it based on the will. Well, you know, Pastor, a young man told me today, he said, man, somebody made a statement. They said that you and this pastor, you and this apostle was, going, y'all didn't like each other, blah, blah, blah. No. Let's correct that. I don't know him. I extended the invitation to him. He refused to come. I ain't had nothing to do with his member leaving his church and coming here. Not a thing. Now, if he took that personal, that's on him. My job is this, and I think like this, and I'll stand true to it and stand on it. I don't own none of you. Because I can't control the decision you make if you tell me God said for me to do this. Whether you telling the truth or not. My job is to tell you, listen, you come to me and say, God said for me to do this right here. God told me to go to another church. Okay, well, you make sure it's God's name. Whatever God tell you to do, that's what you do. But I ain't gonna even say nothing to you as far as what, but I'm thinking in my mind, if it ain't God, we gonna know. Make sure that if it fails, don't come back and say, I miss God. Because you did what God told you to do. All you did was set your life back. Where you were and what God was getting ready to do in your life, you just canceled a lot of it. You put a lot of it on hold. Young man was telling me that today, he said, this is in a marriage. He said his ex-wife came to him and said, now listen to what I'm telling you. His ex-wife came to him. They were married at that time. She's the ex-wife now, but at that time they were married. And said, the Lord told me to leave you. Know what he told the lady? If that's what the Lord told you to do, you do it. No, see, your job and my job, here's what we're going to do. That ain't God. No, you said it's God told you to do that. And if that's what God told you to do, you need to do that. Because that's what God told you to do. I might get upset, I might be hurt, whatever. But you said that's what God told you to do. But I want you to understand, everything God tells you to do is going to be tested. Make sure that what he told you is able to go through the test. Remember now, every works that we do is going to be tried. And when the trials come to test that thing, to make sure what God told you is gold, and you find out it's wood, you in trouble. Now when he saw the lady a year or so later, or a couple of years later, the lady said, I want to apologize to you because I lied to you. I even lied on your name. I even told things about you that were not true. I just want to apologize to you. Please forgive me. Crying and everything. Are you all right? That's what he said. The lady asked him. He said, listen, I'm all right. I'm fine. Are you all right? Because you're the one doing all the crying. Are you all right? So he said, the lady asked him, said, since we in the grocery store, blah, 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 are you going to pay for my grocery and stuff like that? He said, listen, bring it up here. I'll pay for it. Pay for it. And the lady said, God bless you. He said, he already doing that. But she told him, God said to leave. Let me help you out. Why would God tell you to leave a union he put together? Now, I want you to understand this. You have decision and you have feelings and you have emotion. So God will honor if you decide to say, I'm leaving. I'm through with it. I'm gone. I don't care what they say. God will honor it, but it may not be his will. But he still loves you. He still loves you. Now, you may pay the consequence later on, but he still loves you. Okay? He loves you now. But you may pay the consequence later on, but he still loves you. It isn't that he's going to walk away from you, say, I'm through with you. No, he still loves you. It's just that you were moved by your emotions. But you said, it was God that told me to do this. So, I found this out to be true. He's not moved when we lie on him. Because he knows that we don't know what he knows. We really don't know him. Because there are a whole lot of people that's doing that now. God told me to do this, and God told me to do that, and God told me to. Okay, that's what God told you to do. I'm not going to argue with you. I know what God taught me about certain things. That's what I stand on. He's going to honor your decisions. And he's going to still love you because you're still his daughter or his son. He's going to love you. That I can't change. Nobody else is going to change that. He still loves you. And he still works. This is what people don't realize. When you mess up, God said, okay, now I got to get all this stuff straight. And I got to get things back in order. That don't happen overnight. Though you want it to be changed overnight, that doesn't happen overnight. That takes time. The enemy's job is to tie your life up in such a way that time runs out for you here. What are you talking about? That time runs out for you here. Because I want you to understand this. Every one of us is allotted a certain amount of time to accomplish his will. What, Pastor? Every one of us is allotted a certain amount of time. Evangelist Pryor said it best. She said, God said, where the lady said that even God showed her books that people were going to write, that, and those books were designed, that people wrote, were designed to help certain people. If you never wrote the book, then the people that were supposed to be helped didn't get the help. So God had to do something else. Even down to the business that you're pursuing, God said, listen, I'm going to cause this thing to work for your good. That business that you're pursuing, God has it set up for certain people to be blessed as a result of that business. That business never come to pass because you got sidetracked. Now, the people that were supposed to be blessed as a result of that business, God has to set something else up. It's not that God is confused. It's we make things seem like he's confused. We had the people messed up sometimes with certain things. Certain things I'll never say. To certain things I'll never even say God say that. I ain't never tell nobody God tell me to divorce you. I ain't never tell nobody that. No, because God didn't tell me that. I made that decision. I made that decision based on my emotions, based on what was going on. I made that decision. I ain't never tell you God told me to leave that job. I made that decision based on a better opportunity, hopefully. Most of the time, I'm like this. I have to know it's God that tell me it's time up. And most of the time, what God does is he had the people to come up against me. To the point to where I've been telling you to leave. Like they did me when I was in the church. Well, they didn't come up against me. But God told me I'm sitting there reading books in the church. Books in the church. I'm bringing a book every Sunday. Reading the book in the church. The pastor's preaching, I'm reading the book. Just absorbing the revelation. Because I'm hungry. And I'm reading the book. And this man preaching, he's throwing up the little towel and doing it, and I ain't feeling nothing. I'm getting more from the book, Lord have help me. I'm getting more from the book than I just tuned the man out. It was working for those who were babes, but it wasn't working for me who was growing spiritually. And the books that I was reading was really quenching the thirst, the hunger I had. When I came to church, it wasn't doing nothing. Now, Gloria was in there just shouting and crying, and the people think I was the problem. I didn't care. Didn't make no difference. They did. They really did. They thought that I was the problem that was causing her to come to church and shouting. I guess they figured that that's what you're supposed to do, and they figured that was the he must be doing something to her, because this woman here coming in there every Sunday and shouting and praising off of these songs and stuff, because it wasn't off the message. The song and stuff like it wasn't off the message. I might as well tell you that right now. So then this woman coming in here crying and stuff like that, and I'm looking at her. What the world are you crying? There people looking at me thinking I'm the cause of this. I've got to bring a book to read. Just to keep my sanity in there. The people think it's me. No, they didn't understand. They didn't understand. No, they didn't understand. They didn't understand. No, that ain't what happened. Listen, family that's listening. This is what happened. They thought that I had done something to her, and she couldn't talk. And the only word that would come out was, yeah, that's it, Diamond. That's it, baby. That's it. You look like a person cry, and they cry for so long, and they thought that that's what was going on. And I was innocent, man. I was innocent. Being accused, I was innocent, and here I am, man. They point. And one day I was reading the book in the church, and the Lord said, "You had enough." I heard that clear. You had enough. And I said, "I've been had enough. I'm waiting on you." Because I wanted to leave. But where am I going? See, that's the next thing. Where am I going? Who is going to feed me the way I have a thirst and a hunger? And I joined something I shouldn't have joined. Because I thought that the fulfillment of what I was hungering for was there. Okay? Because I was searching. I had a hunger for something. The deep was calling on the deep. And I was calling for deep things. My spirit was calling for deep things. And I wanted to be fed deep things. Before. What's that? Okay, I got that. I got that. I got that. Y'all hear that? I got that. Lady Schubert, I got that. Sister Pam, I got that. The Lewis family, Shante. She told me that at home. She didn't tell me that in the church. See, she speak in tongues, you should have said, "And the Lord say for you to leave," in the church. Then I would have got up and gone. but a lot of times people get to the point to where they leave something and God wasn't finished. And the enemy always approaches you with something because of the next move or this next level God is getting ready to take you to. You can't see it. You sense something is about to happen, but you can't see it. And then before the thing happens, something else happens. The enemy sends something that throws you for a loop to cause you to lose focus on what God is actually doing. A young lady had told me some time ago, she said, Jesus was tempted 40 days and 40 nights, by the enemy in the wilderness, stuff like that. And her thing was, the thing that she was going through, it should have only been 40 days, 40 nights. First of all, you ain't Jesus. Second of all, Jesus' focus was on the Father. It was not on the devil. His focus was on the Father. Your focus going into this thing was on the person who did you wrong. So that means until your focus is readjusted, you're going to stay in this thing, whether it's 3 to 4, 5 years, until your focus is shifted. See, the longer it takes your focus to be shifted, you'll find yourself going through this thing a long time. When it was only designed to be a short length of time. God will lift the burden, but you got to realize certain things you can't change. I want you to understand this. Please understand this. You understand nothing else. You can't make a person love you. You can't make a person want you. All the money you give won't get it back. But here is what you have to realize. I don't have to pay God to love me. He loves me in spite of. So while I'm wasting time trying to call somebody to love me, why not love that which loved me? And let him do what he want to do in my life, so that whatever is done in my life will bring about a change in other people's life. But that's not what the enemy wants you to do. He don't want you to do that. So this woman was like, well, I should be in the 40 days. But listen, you telling me more about your problem than you telling me about God. But she only wanted to be in it 40 days. Because she said that's how long Jesus went in. I said, but Jesus went in and using the word. He was the word. When the enemy came and tempted him, he said, it is written. You ain't saying it written yet. I ain't heard it yet. The only thing you saying is he doing me wrong. You ain't said it written yet. You telling me what the enemy is doing. You telling me what he's doing to you. You ain't telling me what God is doing yet. And she kept, every time I would see her, she would tell me the same thing. How long you been in it now? 2 years. How long you been in it now? 3 years. Until you realize that the person you was in love with didn't want you no more, or the marriage was over, how long did it take you to realize this thing ain't going to happen no more? Now when you look at it, a lot of time now, for the life that you live here, a lot of time, you don't waste 5 years trying to change somebody or trying to change yourself to somebody that the person might want. It ain't no guarantee. See? And so the enemy ties you up in those areas. But if we allow God, if we speak things, listen, I'm calling this thing. It don't look like it'll be right now, but I'm calling this to be. It don't look like I'll ever be focused on you, but I'm calling this to be. It don't feel like I'll ever get there, but I'm calling this to be. When we get to the place to where that don't faze me, I'm focused, I'm moving forward in God, you will get to things quicker than you would being distracted. Things are going to happen in this lifetime. That is a promise. It is how you handle the things when they come up. Most of the time, you and I, like she's the youngest person in here, most of the time, you and I can handle things that she could not handle. Because listen, I can detect, I've been through that. You'll be all right. Just stay focused. Don't let the enemy play with your mind. I'm praying now that the enemy doesn't play with your mind. Blah, 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 that you be strong. Because the enemy going to tell you to do all type of things. Don't do those things. You and I are able to say that now. But listen, we done lost 30 years. And I'm trying to prevent you from losing 30 years. The quicker you learn this, the faster you grow. The faster you experience what God has for you. Well, my family, we worries a lot in my family. The devil is a lie. They worries a lot. That's under the old you. The new you is totally different. The enemy try to stress me with things. Oh, no, I ain't stressing. What am I stressed for? With certain things. What am I stressing? No, I ain't stressing over that. The pastor, I'm not stressing over that. Those are things. Those are things. Sister Deborah, I don't care how many cars I got, none of those cars I can drive to heaven. Why stress myself over it? If you lose it, let me share something with you. If you lose it, somebody else gonna buy it. That car will be still here. If you lose the house, that house will be still here. Why stress yourself over? Jesus made this promise, and this is Jesus now. This is Jesus. He made a statement. He stayed at different people's houses. That was during that time. But he stayed at different people's houses. He didn't really have to have a house. The earth is mine. When you catch that revelation, I'm not telling you you have to stay at different people's houses. But I'm telling you this. If the earth was his and he is now in you, what belongs to you? See, you praying for a house when God said, I've given you. I've given you houses that you won't have to build. I've given you land that you won't have to buy. I've given you cars that you won't have to buy. What are you talking about? One house you stressing over. See, sometimes to experience the greatness, you have to lose certain things. I told a young man today, I said, let me tell you something. I said, there were pastors that I held dear to me that was close to me at one time. It's a lot of them that I looked up to these guys and stuff. I said, and the Lord told me, if you don't separate yourself, I will separate them from you. And buddy, let me tell you something. That wasn't easy. Because you're looking up to people to really give you guidance. But God is saying, for what I'm doing in you, if they stick with you, they'll take the credit and say they did it. But God said, I had to separate them from you because you wouldn't separate yourself from them for what I'm getting ready to do in you. So sometimes you have to lose something to gain it. See, Sister Lena, sometimes you have to lose a house to gain the earth. Listen, now I'm going to tell you right now, I know you wasn't ready for that one. And I know that might not be the right phrase to use. But I know that and you wasn't ready. What are you talking about? I have to lose something to gain. Listen, you had to lose something to gain something. What are you talking about, Pastor? How are you talking about? I don't understand that. Listen. You carried a baby in the inside of your stomach. Once that baby was delivered, you lost it to gain something. You got the baby, but everything else that you lost it to gain. Sometimes you have to lose something to gain something. It's all through scriptures. What are you talking about? Help me out, Joseph. I had to lose my position to gain a position. I'm telling you, he had to lose. Listen, the Bible made this plain and clear. His brothers. I lost my family to gain my family. So sometimes you have to lose that thing you love to gain the thing that you love. Pastor, I don't understand. What are you talking about, Pastor? Listen, he lost his family. Could you imagine? You lost your family. You can't even you can't write them. You can't send a word to them. Whatever. You lost them. Got in a position, a whole new life. Got in a position. Things were going well, and God allowed that to be taken away from you. So God's thing was, I was in it the whole time, and I was using one thing after the other to get you the way I needed you to be. Evangelist Price said it best. She said, listen, and it was right on time. Listen, let me tell you something. There was nobody during that time who was qualified to deliver the Israelite but Moses. A Hebrew by birth, but raised in Pharaoh's house. So in other words, I know the language. I know the authority. Not only that, I'm not afraid to go before him because I was raised up to go before him. So I look at him as more than just what you look at him. Listen, to Moses, Pharaoh was just like a dad. So it wasn't a problem for him. You and I, when we go before somebody, royalty is different. We wasn't raised in the house. So it's totally different. They don't know us. But Pharaoh knew Moses. And I know he knew Moses didn't look like them. God said, I put him there. I raised him up in your house. The very thing that you fed and clothed, I'm going to use to bring you down. The very thing that God is, oh man, God is awesome. The very thing that you trained, I'm going to use to destroy you. You train him to be courageous. You train him to be bold. You train him to fight. And I'm going to use him to come up against you. The only thing that he don't have is the supernatural. He got the strength. He got the know-how. He knows how to use the weapon. He knows how to fight. He knows how to be an Egyptian. But I'm going to teach him how to be a God man. And God taught him. Trained him. Sent him back to Pharaoh. He goes before Pharaoh with a stutter. Had to take Aaron with him because he stuttered. It wasn't that he was afraid. He stuttered. He knew Pharaoh. But he had stamina. He stuttered. It wasn't a no. His thing was, what would I tell him if I go before him? I'm just one man. He's Pharaoh. What am I supposed to tell him? Don't worry, Moses, I'll word your mouth. You go before him. He's going to be glad to see you. Because remember, it's been 40 years. He's going to be glad to see you. But I got a surprise for him. I raised him up in the house. So he knew Moses. Pharaoh, Aaron, that was totally different. Okay, Aaron translating. So he would accept Aaron because of Moses. Then God turns around and hardened the man's heart against Moses, not letting the Israelite go. Pharaoh think that the battle is between him and Moses, not realizing the battle is between he and Moses' God. Hardened the man's heart and would not let him go. Would not let the people go. Now he probably would have let them go after the first thing. But God hardened his heart so that God could be glorified. See, the first thing, Moses could have took credit. So he was still breaking things in Moses. Because the first thing, let them people go, man. No, God said no. I'm going to harden his heart so that he don't let them go. Because I'll get the glory out of this thing. When it's over with, I'll get the glory out of it. And then when they got out there, they got away. And God told them, look back. The Egyptians that you see today. Moses, the house that you were brought up in, you would never see it again. The Pharaoh who raised you, you would never see him again. In other words, I'm getting ready to destroy the dad that raised you. I'm getting ready to destroy the ways of that individual. Because remember, it's still in him. I'm getting ready to destroy the ways of that individual. So when I destroy him, you will know, Moses, you can't go back. There ain't nothing to go back to. That's what God do. And he does that in us. Because there's certain things you saying, man, this thing should have been worked in my life. I can't get this thing to work. And God's sitting back laughing because I'm in it. And you praying hard. You're mad. Listen, you already been mad. Let's get happy now. You've been mad, man. You just don't understand, man. You're mad. You're frustrated. You're going home. You say you're going to quit. You ain't going to do this no more and all this stuff. And then you keep coming back. And God laughing. God saying, I got you right where I want you. You can't make it happen. And all you can do is depend on me. You can't make it come to pass. And all you can do is depend on me. Well, God, you already said you were going to do it this time, and you ain't did it yet, and you mad and stuff. And God said, but you say you love me. You say you trust me. It'll come to pass in due season. You deserve it. It'll come to pass. You deserve it. It'll come to pass. You deserve it. I remember when the Lord told me, he said, because of what you did, now I don't know what I did yet, but because of what you did, I was satisfied with you a long time ago. And that's why I did this in your life. And that's why I did that in your life. Because of what you did. And I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was just start this. I don't know. And stick to it. I don't know what it was. But he said, I was pleased with you a long time ago. That's why I did these things. Now you look at it and you're saying, you know, I wonder if he was pleased with me. I know I complained a lot. And I got upset a lot. Let's just be honest. And I got mad a lot. And sometimes I don't want to talk. Sometimes I don't want to read. And sometimes I don't want to study. What's that word, teacher? Astute. What's the word? You are very studious. Yeah, that's it. Sometimes I don't want to be studious. Studious. And God is saying, I understand. But I was pleased with you 4 years ago. That door that I'm going to open for you, I shut 5 doors so you couldn't go into them. You would have done it. Because I would have went in the first one. But I shut it. To get you to walk into what I wanted you to walk into. You need to hear a few more words to be able to embrace what I'm getting ready to do in your life. You thought you were ready. But I shut doors. Listen now. I want you to understand. God ain't never told us it would be easy. The next thing I want you to understand. If you following me, the enemy going to be after you. An assignment must be carried out. Well, Pastor, I just think it is not fair. I just want it to be easy, and I want it to be done and over with. And then what? Remember, the earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof. Then he turned around and said, and I gave it to man. The earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof. He owns it all. The earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof. You get a revelation from it. The earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof. Wherever you are, when favor is manifested in your life, wherever you are, things just overtake you. What you struggled with in the past is going to become easy because of what you went through. Some of you, the reason why God hasn't opened fully the doors, because you'll walk away and you'll forget him. Why do you think he keeps saying, do not forget me? Look at it now. Some now have forgotten. And they got a few things and they forgotten. A few things and they forgotten. Just like that. But God don't want you to forget him. He's going to manifest. He's going to open doors. Things are going to just overtake you. Blessings are going to overtake you. I mean, literally overtake you. to the point that you're going to be saying, man, this is enough. He gives you this so you can give to others. All right? Next thing is, how do you know you're not a Moses? How do you know you're not a Joseph? How do you know you're not? They were a blessing to many people. How do you know you're not? See, you only thinking about one house, and that's for you. You ain't praying for nobody else to get one. Everybody in here is secure to have a house. Maybe two, maybe three. Cars, businesses. But what about somebody else that's not in here? God be a blessing. God be a blessing. Moses stopped focusing on him, and he started focusing on the people. When you get to the place and you realize that it's already done in your life, now what you do is pray for it to happen in somebody else's life. It'll manifest quick. Because it's already done in your life. I've already given you. Realize that it's already done in your life. You just waiting on the manifestation. All right? Be blessed. Be encouraged. Be encouraged. Be encouraged. Be blessed. Be encouraged. Listen, the last thing I want to tell you. To give notice, to come by authority. To command to come. That's God. That's God. What are you talking about? I command the blessing to flow in my life. I command the blessing to flow in my life. All right? Diamond, you with me? I call your name. People listening.